the fan reaction so far, I think it's been really cool. We haven't played any festivals this summer. We're waiting till next summer, actually, in 26. But we did one tour. We almost immediately when the album came out in April, May, I think we were in this did a North American tour,
Hmm.
headline tour over there, and that was really cool. It's always fun. You work so hard on an album, and it's a lot of time and effort and creativity and pain and pleasure that goes into making these albums, these songs, and then to get out there in the face, meet fans face to face is super awesome. And they have the T-shirt, the new T-shirt, the album. They tell you what their favorite song is and whatnot. So that was really awesome, and we look forward to doing that again on the European tour. We also had a bunch of singles out, videos and stuff like that. So that was
Right.
also you always through those you kind of get an indicator. Oh, people seem to like this one, or they gravitate towards this song, or it's always interesting, because to us it's always like, I mean, to me it's like always like I love everything that we do at the time. I'm very proud of it. Otherwise, we wouldn't put it out. But then you don't know how it's going to be received by the fans, and that's what's the question, I guess. And I think the feedback's been really strong so far.
Good, good. Right. I remember I interviewed Alisa when she just joined the band, like years ago, right? And at
Okay.
that time, okay, you guys were the main songwriters. I think she didn't have or she had just a small participation on the composing process of Arch Enemy
Hey, some
on that.
lyric. Yeah, she's been writing some lyrics from the start.
Exactly.
Yes,
So,
since
but it
yeah,
was, yeah, her participation was little. So right now, I assume that she's already integrated in Aritemi in full time, and she can put her ideas also. Well, we have this single "Illuminate the Path," which I think it was
right.
from her idea, right? So by now, how much would you say is her participation on the albums that you are releasing, on the songs that you are releasing?
I mean, I've always been the main songwriter. I also write lyrics and do the vocal, like how should I say, arrangements for those songs. But there's a few of the singles that have her lyrics on them, like
Hmm.
and vocal arrangement, like "Lies and Thieves," and also a song called. Are you still there?
Yeah, yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
Okay, sorry, there was a sound. Like Liars and Thieves, Liars and Thieves, and another one called Paper Tiger, for
Right.
example.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know what to say. I mean, I like to write lyrics myself as well. So and sometimes it depends on when I'm composing. If I come up with an idea immediately for a lyric or then I should, the words come at the same time as the riffs, and then I kind of build on that. But some songs I just write purely instrumental, and I write a lot together with Daniel, our drummer.
Hmm.
And then it's like an instrumental song. It's cool. Okay, this may be something for Elisa to have a go at, and so it works out very well. And with Illuminate the Path is actually, I think I wrote most of the music in that one.
Hmm.
Maybe Daniel had a couple of ideas as well, and then I wrote the lyrics as well. And then Elisa actually, when we were in the studio, she said she had an idea for the chorus to totally change the chorus. So that's what we did. We tried that. That sounded cool. So things can happen in the studio as well a little bit later on. It's not really set in stone.
Hmm.
Everything. I think the best idea should always win.
Right, right. Okay, I think that when you are in writing mode, you prefer silence instead of listening to other bands, right? I don't know if it is
Mm.
because you don't want to get contaminated by what everyone else is doing, or to get inspiration from other bands. But besides the silence, besides listening to what other bands are doing, do you get inspirations from, like, I don't know, movies or books or series or art or somewhere
For
else?
sure, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I just, from traveling and from seeing things or talking to people, conversations,
Hmm.
reading poetry or reading books, yeah, of course. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, I'm not absolutely 100%, and even like a beautiful, nice, looking up at the stars, that inspired a song called "A Million Suns" that I wrote for the album.
right.
Just like something, when you're just like you're in nature and you're looking up at the stars and you're thinking about how small you are in this
Hmm.
universe and how everything is, you know, it's really crazy when you go deep into your own mind sometimes. So things can come out of that as well. I don't really like to listen to too much. It's more like when I'm in the writing phase, which a deep writing phase. I mean, I'm always writing a little bit every day, actually. I
Right.
was sitting with guitar. I make a point of playing guitar for a couple of hours every day. And what I'm doing then is not really practicing scales or anything. I'm more like I'm just riffing away and coming up with new melodies and riffs and stuff like that. But when I'm in a deeper writing phase, preparing things for, I know there's a recording coming up.
Hmm.
I kind of like I'm circling around those songs so much. I don't really have time to listen to a lot about the music, to be honest. But I love metal. I love listening to records. I collect, old records. Like more like 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s stuff
Right.
that I grew up on. I mean, you know, just things like that. But it's not, it's more like, I think, yeah, it's kind of important to have some silence around you so that you can express yourself instead of channeling something that you've been listening to. I
Yeah.
mean, there's a lot of metal inside of me and inside of all of us. We grew up on all this stuff, Priest, Sabbath, Slayer, and Metallica, Megadeth, all this stuff, right? That's all in our blood. So when me and Daniel put this music together, it's very natural. It's just a flow. And I think we're on our I think 12th albums was Blind Dynasty. So there's a lot of we have our own sound now as well. So it's very natural for us to just write this kind of music.
Exactly. Yes.
Mhm.
Right. So, Arcanemy very familiar with lineup changes. Last one was Jeff Loomis, and now you have Joey, right? With you. I think it was since last year in that tour in Asia, right? So, why do you think there's always lineup changes? And one more thing, do you think it's more difficult to get a musician in your band that comes from a already known band like Jeff coming from Nevermore? Maybe it's more difficult for someone like this with already built status to get into another band and play and work with other ethics, with other kind of music. Do you think it's more difficult to get someone that maybe is not that known?
I really don't know. I mean, we've tried both. We've had both. I don't think we've had that. I mean, the band next year, in 2026, it will be 30 years since we put the band together, since we have released our first album.
Right.
And if you look at that, I don't think we've had a lot of, like if you compare to some other bands,
Yeah.
there's been a lot more. And I think, a lot of it, the changes come from our touring. We like to tour a lot. We work very hard, I have to say. We go everywhere, all around the world. We don't just go to Europe and then North America and Latin America. We go everywhere, kind of. We won't go to China and play one show. We'll play 10 shows there, for
Hmm.
example. We do a lot. And I think that's life. It becomes a lifestyle and a way it doesn't really fit everybody. Like, some people want to do something else with their lives or,
Yeah.
it's very time consuming is what I'm saying to play an arch enemy. So it's one of those things where it doesn't fit everybody. But I mean, I was great. I mean, I thought Jeff did a great job, and he was in the band for 9 years. I think that's quite a long time.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Exactly. And talking about touring, as we said, you are coming to Spain in
Hmm.
October in next month, but you are
Right.
doing just one show, which is in Madrid. But it's a very big show. It's in a big place, right? So I
Hmm.
assume that these days it's better to put just one show and a big lineup because I think there's other. three or four bands playing with you on that
Right,
date,
right,
uh,
right.
right?
Hmm.
That instead of doing Barcelona, Bilbao, and another city, right? I don't know if touring has changed in the last years and since COVID, especially.
Yeah, I mean, you're not really asking the right person. I think, yeah, on this tour we have a lineup of the opening act is Gate Creeper, and then the main supports are Amorphis from Finland and Elevati from Switzerland,
Yeah,
and then Arch Enemies the headliner, right? So
right.
this is um this is the tour that's going to go around Europe
Hmm.
in October, November, and I think we play in Madrid on October 25th, I think.
Hmm.
So that's going to be, yeah, I mean, I like to play many shows basically. But when you do a big tour, like a big package, like in Germany, it's a lot of like arena shows actually, which
Hmm.
we've done before as well last year. So it's kind of like moving into bigger venues, with everything from 5 to 7, 8,000, 9,000 people we had last year at some of those shows. So then you bring up like two trucks and or more trucks and more tour buses and more things and a bigger show, right? And a bigger package. And I think that's just the nature of the business with this touring thing. For me personally, I prefer to play more shows, but smaller shows, more
Yeah.
intimate. That's my personal taste. But then, you know, somehow I have no idea why Arch Enemy became a bigger band, and this kind of thing happened. So, which is cool. It's also I'm enjoying that as well.
Right. Good. And talking about touring, I assume that you saw the Black Sabbath last show with Ozzy, which he dies just days
Hmm.
later after that, right? And
Hmm.
there's
Hmm.
these kind of musicians like Ozzy or Lemmy that wants to play just until the end, until they cannot play anymore. So you've been in this business for a lot. You mentioned that next year is going to be 30 years of Academy, but you have other bands, other projects as well. You've been touring for a long time now. Do you see yourself playing until you cannot play anymore physically? Or do you think there will be a time where you will say, okay, that's enough. I cannot be in the stage. I cannot manage like a 40 dates tour.
Hmm. Um, yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I've thought about it, of course. At the moment, I only play an Arch Enemy. It's been like that for quite a few years. I don't have
Hmm.
any other bands, anything that I'm working with. So it's kind of like I'm very focused on Arch Enemy, and my whole life is really it's dedicated to that, really, to stay in good shape, musically and physically and everything, so that I can do that. And because so all the traveling and everything is, of course, that's the most difficult part, maybe sometimes. But
Hmm.
then the shows are just like for fun.
Hmm.
I think somebody said, some musician, I can't remember who said, I get paid for, I get paid for the, no, I get paid for the traveling, the playing I do for free. And it's
Hmm.
kind of, I kind of agree with it in a way. I mean, it's something that the music is the playing this music that, my music all around the world is just a pure pleasure. And I'll try to keep doing it as long as I can. But yeah, we're reaching the end times for the end of time, like for time is running out for many older legacy acts, right? And man, I think there's a reason why, if you look at a band like Iron Maiden or even at Rolling Stones, right? They're
Hmm.
not playing for money. They don't need money. They're just doing it because they love it and it's a lifestyle. And it's something they've been doing their whole life since they were teenagers. And they don't really wouldn't know what to do if they're not like,
they're
get
gonna
ready for a tour and
they're not
yeah.
gonna stay at home. They don't know what else to do,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, I don't know, and I can relate to that because I think, what am I going to do? Sit at home and do crosswords, and I don't do gardening. I don't play golf. I play guitar and I play metal. That's what I love, and so for me, it's not. I haven't reached that point yet where I even really seriously thought about anything else. I'm just
Right.
happy to be doing this. So I feel great. The band sounds great. So. I'm
Right.
excited.
Great. Right. When someone thinks about metal, they think about a
Hmm.
wild lifestyle, especially in the 80s and the 90s. But I think that a band that has been playing for 30 or more years, there has to be
Hmm.
something else, especially discipline. Because if you don't have discipline in this or in any
Hmm.
job you do, you cannot
Hmm.
last 30 years or more. What is it for
It's true.
you? Like, you say that for sure
Well,
you're having fun
mm,
playing with arch
mm,
enemy for sure. That's why you're still playing.
hmm,
But there should be some
mm.
discipline there, right?
Of course, there's discipline involved, and to pace yourself and to do everything right. And I have to say, I still have a ton of fun. I still do wild and crazy things, but I choose my moments when to do them. It's not like it's not like every night, you know. So it's yeah, it's just and there's something like you've heard many musicians say before. You owe the fans a killer show.
Hmm,
They come, they buy the ticket, they make travel arrangements, they come to a concert, they make a choice to come and see us play, see Arch Enemy. That should be like a really great Arch Enemy show, as good as we can do it that night. And
right.
so you don't want to feel like exhausted or tired because you partied or something like that. So you got to really, it's about really. There's a discipline. There's a discipline in the partying as well. How much you part, you know.
Right.
But but you can't be too boring either. You can't be just like drinking herbal tea after the show and doing yoga. I mean, that's not really how it works for most of us anyway.
Right. Great. So I was checking this podcast yesterday, and there were musicians talking about the price of the tickets these days. They were focusing especially on pop artists, right?
Right.
And mentioning
Hmm.
like in the 90s, you can see like Britney Spears or Christina Aguilera for like $30, right? But these
Right.
days, the popular pop stars are charging like 150 bucks for a ticket. It's also related to rock and metal these days. Like before, like 20 years ago, maybe a ticket could cost you like 20, 30, and today is 70, 80. What are your thoughts on this? I mean, for sure, everything is going up. Prices are going up. It's more expensive to tour these days. But do you think that maybe someone in their 20s that are starting to work or are still studying can
Hmm.
go to a show or two shows every month if they have to pay like 80, 90 euros for a ticket?
That's a good question. I mean, yeah, when I started going to shows, they were extremely cheap, and affordable.
Hmm.
And but I think times are different then, and now costs. I mean, I see the budgets, for outdoor, for example,
Hmm.
and there's a lot of costs until it's you're fighting to not be in the red. You know what I mean? You want to make these budgets work. It takes a lot of effort and a lot of planning, and the musician is always the last person to get paid, right?
Right.
There's a whole chain. There's a whole chain. There's a whole line of people that get paid before we do. And that's something that people have to think about as well. These venues are expensive. They have a lot, they're expensive to start with, and then there's a PA and this catering and this trucks and there's just so many things involved. It's crazy. But and the costs have gone up, That's just
Hmm.
how it is. And the sad thing is the new prices are here to stay, They're not gonna
Yeah,
get lower.
exactly.
That's the sad reality of it. And it sucks. I wish
Yeah,
everything cost $10 like it did when I grew up, I
exactly.
saw
I
a lot
think,
of killer bands. I saw a lot of killer bands for like 10, 20, 15 euro,
yeah,
amazing shows that I still don't remember to this day, But that was more
ex-
like the underground scene, I would say,
yeah.
going and seeing like really crazy. I could go and see like I would go to England and see Napalm Death, Extreme Noise Terror, and Carcass, and one more band, Deviated Instinct or something like that, in one night for
Hmm.
like €7 or something like that,
Yeah, yeah,
you know,
exactly.
you know.
Yeah.
But nobody got paid back then. I guess nobody got paid back then. You know what I mean? That was just different. That was a different time. I don't know what to say. I mean, for sure, concerts are expensive, and I'm sure there's a lot of competition as well, right? And everybody's trying to put on a bigger show, a more impressive show. What's
Bigger
popular in metal now is a
productions.
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's popular in metal now is a lot of these cosplay bands, that dress up and stuff like that, right? And have masks and do like big shows. That's very, very popular at the
Yeah.
moment. We're not really competing with that because we don't do that.
Right.
We just kind of just play music. I like to think us more in the vein of a Slayer or a Maiden or something like that. We're trying to put on a great killer metal show, but with
Yeah.
not so theatrical.
Right.
But yeah, but I think it's what can you do? I don't know. There's a lot of reasons why the prices have been going up, and I think it's the same if you go and buy a loaf of bread and butter and some cheese. It probably costs more than it did 10
Yeah.
years ago. So,
Exactly. Yeah, the thing is that on this podcast they were also discussing that okay, these days you have like Netflix or any streaming services you have to compete with
hmm
if you're an artist. Like someone will think, what I'm doing tonight, I'm staying at home and watch a movie or go to this show.
hmm
And people are more
hmm
selective because of the prices and because they have more
hmm
offered
hmm
what they can do during the night. So
Yeah.
probably
Oh yeah,
people
yeah.
are more selective. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much you can just people lie on their couch at home after work and scroll through TikTok and Instagram all night. You know, I don't know. That's
Exactly.
like, I'm not that kind of person, I mean, and I think, it's still a little bit, yeah, I just talked about, I don't know, mainstream and metal
Yeah.
being a bit different. I don't know if you heard that.
No, but okay, no worries. Right, just one last question, Michael.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of bands these days, especially bands coming from the punk or hardcore scene, but also metal,
Mm-hmm.
are taking a
Mm-hmm.
stand, political wise, especially with everything that is happening with Israel and Palestine, but also with Ukraine and Russia, all these countries. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Some people say that mesh metal shouldn't be mixed with politics. People say they do. What is your
Mm-hmm.
position here? What do you think? Should a band should stand somewhere?
Me, punk and hardcore. I mean, I grew up in that scene. That's for me is something different. That's
Hmm.
always been politically driven as well. Like, oh, you could match it almost 50-50 with the music, sometimes the message and the music, right? Because some of the music wasn't very advanced or whatever. So I think, it's just like when we started out, it was this kind of the message was as important as the music in the punk scene. But with the metal, I find it to be more like entertainment, and I don't
Hmm.
really feel the need to mix up those two things. I
Right.
don't like to separate people really. You know,
Hmm.
I don't like
Exactly.
to separate fans. I don't like to separate. I'm not really into that. No, that's true.
Okay.
I don't get him. Yeah, yeah.
All right. Well, Michael, thank you so much for your time and for the interview. We will see you playing in Madrid soon and playing with this new lineup, which we didn't saw before, at least here in Spain. Okay, so it will be good.
hmm
And well, congratulations on this new album, Blood Dynasty. It's really good.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, and the show's going to be fantastic. So be there.